Hello everybody, Thalmor here. Today we're going to be doing a video on Elder Scrolls conspiracy theories, basically. A little out there, a little weird, but a little weird. So, let's get on into it. Thank you for clicking on the video. So let's get to our first one here. In honor of that,
One fine day
a
in the
memento.
middle of the night, two dead kings got up to fight. Back to back they faced each other, drew their bows, and stabbed themselves.
I wanted to add a little extra flair. So the first one we're going to be talking about is a quest that takes place in the Elder Scrolls online game. Now this is going to be covering all the different games, at least the ones that I'm aware of. Mostly just Elder Scrolls Online Skyrim, but we're gonna do an Elder Scrolls Online with a quest in Reaper's March public dungeon. I'll show you where it is since I'm in the game. Right there. The Vile Manse is a quest where you help, or you go through it and you end up talking to Hermaeus Mora, and in there the dialogue says, unless they've changed it, you can let me know if they've changed it. I haven't done the quest in a few years, but he says that down in there is the ruins of a twice forgotten children of Ariel elven race or whatever, right? And I know that all over everywhere they say it's High Elf or it's Aldmer, and I'm like, well, they're not really twice forgotten, are they? How many different races of elves are actually twice forgotten? And children of Ariel, right? Now you could definitely say Aldmer, for sure. But are they really twice forgotten? And then it hit me. And I don't know why it didn't hit me sooner, because I absolutely love this race. But Snow Elves. Snow Elves are literally twice forgotten. Because they're forgotten as their ancient selves, the ancient Falmer, who we met in Skyrim Dawnguard, right? And then they're forgotten now, and what they became, which was the Falmer, the blinded, twisted, goblin-like Falmer. And their children of Ariel, right? I mean, they have a chantry dedicated to the guy. So, who better to be this twice forgotten race than Snow Elves? Now, why would they be in such a hot region? Because they like cold. Reaper's March, is, let's see, it's part of Valenwood. Yeah, it's right here. So I mean, it neighbors, Cyrodiil, kind of warmer areas here. So it's like, okay, doesn't quite make sense. But I mean, if you were being thrown out of your home, killed and torn and whatever, wouldn't you just go wherever the heck you could? I mean, they couldn't rest in Cyrodiil because I don't remember when the uprising of Alessia was, but I mean, could they really trust the aliens kind of thing, right? So this would be like the first region that was probably they could probably settle in safely. So that's one theory I had, is that that quest talks about not high elves, not Altmer, but it talks about the Falmer, because they're twice forgotten. They're forgotten as the Snow Elves and they're forgotten as Falmer. Thought that was a pretty simple one, right? Next up, I don't know if I'm going to continue doing that. um, is about the veiled Heritence. Now, this one's a little bit of a stretch, but the evidence evident is evident. That makes sense. The evidence is pretty obvious, at least to me, in this quest here, College of the Altmer Propriety, and how the veiled Heritance treats the Khajiit and the Bosmer as part of the as a Thalmor, right? Now, how does this tie in? Well, my theory is that the veiled Heritence of this second era went underground after losing and then re-emerged in the fourth era when the High Elves were kind of at a low point and took advantage of a situation when the moons were disappeared, and then they said, you know what? And they took, and like I said, they took advantage of a situation and they re-became the Thalmor. And evidence of that is how the fourth era Thalmor were a lot more racist and treated the Khajiit and Bosmer not as equals, but as like lesser, like we saved you, haha, okay, you know, and that's how they were treated in the second era at the College of Aldmer Propriety. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say the second era of Veiled Heritage became the fourth era Thalmor that we met in Skyrim. All right, next next one is going to be dialogue from Solitude. I'm not sure if everyone did this quest. It is in East March. No, it's not in East March. I'm freaking stupid. It's in Western Skyrim, part of the Antiquity system, and you talk to um, the woman that's in the wheelchair. And she talks about a lot of Snow Elven stuff, right? One thing is that she's working on a theory that the Knight of Tears had more than the 500. It wasn't just the 500. And I'm sitting there and thinking for a long time. I was like, I don't know. I mean, like 500, like they were definitely like formidable. But then I'm thinking, well, wait, this is the Merithic era. This was before the Dragon War. And there were even some that say that Ishkamor was a dragon priest, right? Because well, that was their religion. That was their religion. They hadn't had that giant war yet, right? And I'm thinking, well, that kind of makes sense. They were, they worship animals, and so why wouldn't they bring bears and saber cats and all their different totem animals along with dragons into this fight against the snow elves? And I do think that's really true. That the 500 have more than just them, because they would have taken a lot more heat, a lot more defeating. It just takes more than some, basically some pissed off ancient Nords and Morans to pretty much almost wipe out an entire race. Now, if you don't know, Snow Elves weren't wiped out. They weren't wiped out. A vast majority of them took a deal with the Dwemer. Some of them went different ways. Some of them even mixed with different races. I bet you there are a lot of different like high elf, snow elf hybrids out there, and even Dunmer. So intermixing their breeds. But yeah, I thought that was interesting when I heard that dialogue. I was like, and then the research about the rumor or the conspiracy theory that Yishkamor was actually a dragon priest. Because now, if you don't know, dragon priests were a lot different in Atmora. Before they came to Atmora, dragon priests were a lot different. They were a lot more. If you look up someone like Veloc the Jailer, they were a lot more like that. Because he had apparently a very fair long reign on Solstheim. That's what they were more like, and it's like, well, if he was such a prominent person in the Atmoran culture, he would be like a dragon priest. That's who they were. Now, I'm going to mix things up just a little bit I really don't want all this to be about Snow Elves, but my god, I just realized I'm looking at my list and I'm like, there are so many. But I do like the race. But we'll throw in a few. Um, One is that Azura, when she made the Khajiit, she actually used ancient Bosmer, which is why some races, or some, not some races, but some types of Khajiit actually look like elves. I think there's even one that looks like man. Now, this theory was just born out of the fact that Khajiits in the older games just look different, so they had to like make the lore make sense. So they went this way. Hate to ruin it out there, but that's kind of why. But they're saying that Azura was the reason why Khajiits are a thing, and she used very ancient Bosmer or Aldmer that settled in Valenwood to do that. Um, Moving on to the next one. We This one's kind of out there a little bit, but yes, it's about snow elves. But I think um that they left when the 500 came back, and they were getting destroyed. My theory is they're immune to cold, right? So why wouldn't they say, hey, the Atmorans are completely abandoning that land up there? They don't know why. All they know is that it's cold. We're gone. So what if, and apparently Atmora was once called Altmora. I don't know how true that is. So what if the Snows just went back to kind of like part of where they started? It's not Aldmaris, but it's was created kind of, right? So that's another one. This one is one that I'm just basing it on um and obviously I'll leave timestamps in here so you guys can jump around to different ones. But this next one is just based on how I've seen other gaming companies do their games. And I don't think it's a stretch. Some people will probably even say, well, duh, Alf, like, of course. Skyrim had more DLCs planned. That's my theory. And it's based on the fact that for such a popular video game as Skyrim was, and the fact that at the time, I wouldn't even doubt that Bethesda knew that they weren't going to do another Elder Scrolls game for quite some time, right? So because of that, why wouldn't they market the Dragonborn DLC as the last DLC? You see games do it all the time. The last DLC, for game blah blah blah, right? You see it. You see it marketed that way because it's smart. It's just smart marketing to get people to buy it, and it's kind of like a last day clearance kind of sale. It sucks people in. It's smart marketing. It's the marketing. But the Dragonborn wasn't really marketed that way, was it? It wasn't. It was not marketed that way. And I think what killed it, if anyone remembers at the time, right after the Dragonborn DLC came out, Bethesda started to really work on getting the DLCs on the console because consoles had a huge problem. They couldn't take the DLCs. I don't think they even had Heartfire. They had just the base game. So Bethesda had to work overtime um to get these DLCs on the console. Probably contractually, whatever, right? And they used up whatever time they had, because my theory is that they had like I wouldn't say agreements, but they had like, okay, this is the hard date we have for moving on to what was then Fallout 4, I think, right? Once this date hits, we have to move on. And I think they had at least one more DLC for Skyrim, and their work, we didn't hear about. How odd is it that we didn't hear that they were moving on for, like, what was it, like 2 months, 3 months, something like that? I think they used up the rest of their time. In that time, instead of working on the last DLC for Skyrim, they worked on console, and they looked at it and they go, hey, we could spend another month or two working on this DLC and release it anyway, but console can't even handle the three we have. And one of them's just housing, you know? And one is basically just a quest. And the game and the consoles just can't handle it. So I think that they had one more and they decided, not only are we really close to our deadline of starting Fallout 4, but if we release this to consoles, they will never, ever, ever be able to handle it. Because even at the time, the Xbox and PlayStation consoles couldn't even handle the three that were there. I don't even think you could have all three. You couldn't have the base game, Heartfire, Dawnguard, and Dragonborn installed. You had to pick what DLCs you wanted to play, and if you wanted to play another one, you had to shut another one off. At least that's what some people told me. I mean, I moved on from console, so I do think that there was at least one more. I would say there was one more. A lot of people say it was Hammerfell, but I think I think it had to do with Dragonborn and just probably just sealing up his story. Just like they did with Oblivion, they sealed. They tied off that story. I think they were going to do that with the Dragonborn, but they just didn't have time. Um, on to the next one. Um, I don't know how I feel about this one. I kind of thought about this next one kind of like late at night. So take this next one for what you will. But I do believe that if you remember Skyrim, the famous intro to Skyrim, right? I don't really believe in coincidences when it comes to this. It probably was. They're probably just like, how do we start this game? Alduin saves the Dragonborn. Okay. But I'm thinking, okay, what if Akatosh sent because he's the dragon god of time. So even though the ancient Nords sent Alduin through that dragon break and forward in time, I think that Akatosh kind of knew where he was coming out and could actually kind of control. He actually controlled Alduin to say, I can't have the last Dragonborn executed. So he sent Alduin to save the Dragonborn, knowing that afterwards, Alduin could do whatever he wanted. He wasn't held back by anything. It's like, okay, well, he saved the Dragonborn. Dragonborn would kill Alduin. Everybody, hooray, I win. I think that's what happened. I think that Alduin was sent by Akatosh to Helgen to save the Dragonborn, and then whatever happened after that, happened after that. Because as much as we look at the Adra, they are just like, it's really hard to describe how other people have told me, or how I've read in Elder Scrolls lore, how the Adra and Daedra work, right? Because what they say is there really isn't a huge difference between the Adra and the Daedra, really. Like, they just operate off of logic, and that's why, in Necrom, you're helping Hermaeus Mora, even though he's a Daedra. There is no real Daedra and Aedra. They don't really see right and wrong. They just look at things logically, and sometimes look at things a little more darker than others, right? Where was I going with this? Oh, so to send Alduin to Helgen, knowing that, okay, well, that was my only plan for him. Hopefully, the Dragonborn saves the world after that. That was it. That was the only thing Akatosh had planned, was save the Dragonborn. So that's why Alduin attacked Helgen and didn't really attack any other cities after that. He should have. They should have wrote that in, I'm sorry. Like, I think they should have wrote in that he attacked other cities and other towns. I really think that would have been pretty cool. But whatever, it is what it is, and that's why I say that was such a. When you look at what Alduin did for the rest of his time, well, all he did after that was just resurrect dragons. The only time he acted any differently was Helgen. He came out, he did his end of the world shout, and I think he was sent there by Akatosh. I do. Okay, so this next one, the next few are going to be about elves. Sorry to say, for you non-elf fans out there. But I remember the quest in Somerset, and it was yeah, this one, Korgrad Waste. It's a city that's underwater, basically, right? And you run into elves that are in caves down here, and high elves that have lived down there for probably, if I don't remember if they said how long they've been down there, but they were down there for a time, and they went mad. They actually really kind of started to act a little like the Thalmor, and not the Snow Elves. I mean, like the blind Thalmor that are crazy and blind and basically goblins, right? And that leads to this theory, this conspiracy theory, that elves are susceptible to going mad more easily than other races because of their tie to magic and these dark elements that magic can be tied to, like mysticism and shadow magic, blood magic, all these different kinds of illusions, and like I said, high elves and snow elves, and they are susceptible to going mad because of these ties. Because what else explains why the Falmer are the way they are? All the Dwemer did was blind them. They didn't make them go crazy and turn into goblins, right? Same thing with this quest at the Korgrad. I mean, these people, they were just underground. They were in caves. And yet they went mad and started acting like goblins and create. And I'm thinking, I wonder if elves are more susceptible to going crazy because of their tie to magic. Because they have such a vast understanding of it. I don't know how you guys think of that one. I kind of like that one. This next one, I must admit, like, I'm kind of proud of it. Like, this next theory. I know other people I've told this next theory to didn't really like it. They're like, Alf, you're insane. Maybe a moron. But I think that, and this is the next one, Fort Dawnguard and the College of Winterhold are actually ancient Snow Elven ruins that its materials were repurposed. So, when I think it was, they said that Shalador built the College of Winterhold, I think. I think he did. I think he did do that. But think about it. Just look at the Elven, like, this is supposed to be a copy of Snow Elven stuff here. Right here. This isn't like the greatest, like, lighting in the world, right? Even this house. This is ancient Elven, right? Look at the stone. They use white stone. Aldmer used white stone. Thalmor used a white stone. Dwemer, white stone, right? So you look at places like the College of Winterhold and Fort Dawnguard, and we already know because of Fort Greenwall in the Rift that the Nords built over the Snow Elven ruins, which is why we don't have any. They either built over their ancient cities or they repurposed the material. So I do think that Fort Dawnguard was some sort of like temple or maybe a city or whatever. And the Jarl of the Rift, when he wanted to build an outpost there, saw all that material and just said, use that, build me a fort, and Fort Dawnguard was built. Same thing College of Winterhold. Because look at the cities around Skyrim, right? You look at the cities around Skyrim. Western Skyrim, the Reach, East March, the Rift, the areas that were in Skyrim that we can't get to in this game. How many of them were white stone? Like the white elven stone. Even the Dwemer didn't use this white of a stone in Skyrim. It was Snow Elves who did that. So you look at Fort Dawnguard and you go to the College of Winterhold, who are more of like a white stone, and you go, I think it makes sense to me that, well, they were once those areas, the Winterhold and the Fort Dawnguard area were once Snow Elven places. Whatever was there, I don't know, obviously. But it kind of makes sense. Nords don't have any other structures with white stone. Dark gray, maybe, but that's more like imperial, stone, really. Not really many or any other things with white stone besides the College of Winterhold and Fort Dawnguard. Think of that as what you will. I really, really, really believe that one. Let's see. I did have one theory, one last theory that I actually crossed off, and this will be the end of the video. I don't really know what I think about this theory because we all kind of know what happened to the Dwemer. If you don't know, well, just I don't know. If I can find some videos, I'll link them. But we all know what happened to the Dwemer. It's not a secret anymore. The Dwemer became the skin of the Numidium, the brass god. But here's where my conspiracy theory came in, or my theory, not really conspiracy, but my theory is not all of the Dwemer became skin of the Numidium. I think that because the Dwemer had this ability apparently that was called the calling, where they could talk. It's like telepathy. They could talk to each other. So what Kagrenak did is he used that ability to connect all of the Dwemer when he was going to, strike the heart of Lorcan. I think everybody that was close to him within a certain mile radius became the skin of the Numidium. Absolutely. And their souls are in that probably something like this, like they're in their own little world. And a little realm. They made their own realm, I guess. So, but they didn't really create a god, really, did they? I mean, they both succeeded and failed at the same time. But here is my theory, because every time the Numidium was used in Elder Scrolls lore, it caused a dragon break. For those who don't know what dragon breaks are, they're basically like a severing of time. And then even the Dwemer dungeon in Blackreach suffers from time distortion, right? So what I think happened is some of them who weren't close to, who weren't really close to Red Mountain, had varying unpredictable things happen to them. And we're talking about like being vaporized, being sent through time, maybe even being sent to different realms, maybe Battlespire, maybe Daedric realms, you know, all this other kind of stuff. And that's what I think. And that's what I think happened. Is definitely the proven theory that those at the Red Mountain became the Numidium. Believe that 100%. They're gone, right? People who were here, but those who were not near, like over here and all the Dwemer that were in Hammerfells, maybe some parts of Skyrim and Blackreach, which is underground. I think they had a varying effect because the heart of Lorcan was a heart of a god, right? So I think some were sent through time, some were sent to varying realms, some were just completely vaporized because I think it was in Morrowind, or I don't remember what game it is. Maybe you guys can help me. I think it was in Morrowind. I don't remember that game very well. It was a long time ago. But I think like in a few of the Dwemer dungeons or homes, there were ashes everywhere, and I think that's like it was just unstable. Like Kaggernack can only control so much, so I think that's what happened. That's at least part of my theory with that. So those are my conspiracy theories, guys and girls. I hope you guys love them. I hope you guys love them or hated them. Doesn't really matter. If you guys made it this far in the video, I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you know anybody else who loves this kind of stuff, share my video. I'd greatly appreciate it. So I will see you all in the next one, and enjoy mid-year mayhem that's going on right now. Or not, if you're kind of like me and kind of just like tired of it. But have fun out there, and see you all next time.